الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين صلى الله وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. اللهم لا فهم لنا إلا ما فهمتنا إنك أنت الجواد الكريم. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما وهدى يا رب العالمين. يا معلم آدم علمنا يا مفهم سليمان فهمنا. So we stopped on, we covered الرفع. So just to quickly jog ourselves here, jog our memory. What did we say is الرفع? How do we describe or define الرفع? I want some new hands. Abdurrahman. A state of I'rab. Very good. We're making progress. Allahu Akbar. Umar, what did we say الرفع is? A state of I'rab. Good. A state of I'rab. So Umar knows it. Nobody has an excuse here, okay? All right, a state of I'rab. Now, a state of I'rab, we likened it to what? Huh? For example, we said a state of I'rab is like what? Like flu, right? For example, we said a state of I'rab can be like flu. Now, how do I, when the person contracts flu, do they become flu? They don't, right? But what do they become? Huh? Yeah. They have the flu, right? Okay, so to make that conclusion, what do we look at? The signs and symptoms of flu, right? Okay, so the same thing in I'rab, حالة الإعراب, الرفع, for example. We want to see or we want to examine if a word is in the state of رفع. What do? We look for the, we examine the endings, but what are we looking for in the endings? Yeah, Dhamm is one of them. The signs. Remember, just like we said, the signs of the flu. So, Yusuf, you weren't here, but we said that you could have some signs with flu, right? Shu'aib might have not exactly the ones you have. Maybe Shu'aib actually has more signs than you. Does Shu'aib have, a different type of disease than you? No, it's still flu, right? But he can have it to a certain degree and you can have it to a certain degree, right? So likewise, we're saying that the structures, which are what in this example? The people. The structures are am I being too gibberish here? Maybe, a little bit, huh? So let's go back here, okay? I just want to quickly go over this. So we're talking about the flu, okay? And we're saying maybe here, let's say, for example, Layth, all right? And Ahmed, for example, huh? And Yusuf, okay? Yusuf these are my structures, okay? Now, I wanted to see who has flu here. What do I look at? The sign, the symptoms, right? So I'll look at whatever, sign number one, sign number two, sign number three. And then maybe Ahmed only has 2 and 3. And maybe Yusuf has only 1. Does it change the fact that they all have the flu? No, it doesn't. But each has a sign by which we can recognize they have. So the same way, we're saying the structures are what? Here, right? So the structures have different signs for the same state of I'rab. Does that make sense? So that's all we're saying here. And the same concept, we can apply it in different states of I'rab. Does that make sense, Ahmed? Ahmed Bilal? Make sense? Okay, good. That's very good. Okay, so let's move on to the next one. So we said Al-Rafa has 4 signs. And we covered the first one. What was the first one? Al-Dhamma, very good. And we said Al-Dhamma is a sign for 4 structures. What are they? Al-Ism al-Mufrad, which is what? Singular. Give me an example, ya Ahmed. What example did I give yesterday? Or did we give yesterday? Give me anything that shows that shows one thing. Muhammad, yeah. Muhammad shows one human named Muhammad, right? So, and what did we say? Muhammad, when it's in the state of rafa', what is it? What is it like? How do you read out the whole thing, yani? Muhammadun, very good, very, very good. Muhammadun. So Muhammadun has a sign of rafa', which is the dhamma. Therefore, Muhammad is marfu'. Very good. That's how we say Muhammad. That's how we would say Yusuf has the flu. We would say Yusuf is marfu', right? But technically, even the name Yusufu could be marfu', but Muhammadun here then therefore is marfu' because of the dhamma. Now let's move on to the next. Okay, ism mufrad, and then what? Jam'u taksir. For example, rijal, for example. Now I want to kind of again jog your memory all the way back to the first lesson. How do we decide something is jam'u taksir? What is jam'u taksir? Huh? The sisters, I need some participation from your end as well. Yeah, what do you say jam'u taksir is? What did? So when the original makeup of the word is changed or altered. Those alterations could happen in what way? Yeah. Very good. Addition, omission of haraka, or changing, right? Those are the three. That's very good, actually, Ahmed. Those three are the, I guess you could say, the criteria that I need to look at to declare something to be, or to declare a word to be jam'u taksir. But what do I need to declare it jam'u taksir? Well, I have the word. I want to see if it's potentially jam'u taksir. What do I do? Yes. Yeah. Yeah, but how would I determine the changes? Yeah, I need the singular, right? If I have the singular and I have the plural, then I can look and decide if it's jam'u at-taksir. Now, what is the easiest path to knowing something is jam'u at-taksir? For a word that is at least that I suspect is jam'u at-taksir, what is the only way I can just say I have the mufrad already? I have the singular form of the word, and I have what I think is the jam'u of the word. I just need to do what? How can I eliminate very quickly without doing all of that? Without checking omission or addition or alteration? What do I need to?
Can you check the dictionary?
The dictionary could be helpful, but the dictionary usually doesn't say jam'u taksir. It just says jam'u. That's it. Yeah. Other structures like what? The two. Jam'u mudhakkar salim, jam'u mu'annath as-salim. Because those two are sound, right? So if I see a word that is not whatever it was, and then una or ina at the end in the plural form, or atun or atin then I know it's not jam'u mudhakkar salim or jam'u mu'annath salim, so therefore it has to be what? Jam'u taksir. That's the easiest, I think, most natural, less technical way of recognizing jam'u taksir. But anyway, jam'u taksir, for example, rijalun, right? Rijalun has what at the end? Dhamma, so it is marfu'. Very good. What is the other, the third one? Jam'u al-mu'annath as-salim. Very good. For example, muslimatun or fatimatun, for example, the example that we gave yesterday, right? Where we see that there is a dhamma at the end of the word, and that is the sign for us to recognize that it is in the state of al-raf'. What's the last one? الفعل المضارع الذي لم يتصل بآخره شيء. For example, يجلس. What do we say? فعل المضارع. Ahmed, what does it mean? Ahmed Bilal. It means a tense that is either in the present or in the future. For example, يفعل. So anything that is in that template, Ahmed, is called فعل المضارع. For example, يأكل, يجلس, يفعل. Okay, all of those are in the. It could be also نفعل, right? It could be أفعل, but we will look at فعل مضارع on its own. Okay, so don't worry. But what is the sign here? The dhamma at the end. يجلس, right? The dhamma on the scene here is the sign that it is in the state of rafa'. Anyone have any questions there about anything we just talked about or just went over very quickly? No one? Yes, Ben. Shine.
What's the difference between Jam'a mu'annath salim and
Al-Mudhakkar?
muzakkar
Yes.
salim?
So Al-Mudhakkar Salim is the sound masculine plural. So Jam'u al-Mudhakkar as-Salim is the sound masculine plural. And Jam'u al-Mu'annath al-Salim is the sound feminine plural. Why are we calling it sound? Anybody? Yes. Because it's safe from the breakage of Jam'u al-Taksir. Jam'u al-Taksir is broken. Jam'u al-Mudhakkar al-Salim, Jam'u al-Mu'annath al-Salim are safe from any breakages, right? From any structural alterations. So, just to quickly show you an example. For example, Muslimun, right? Okay. Muslimun, okay. Give me the blue. This one is. So Muslimun, if I want to make a Jam'u al-Mudhakkar al-Salim, what does it become? Muslimun, right? So I want you to look here. The Dhamma here is still there. The Sukun of the Sin is still there. The Kasra on the Lam is still there. The Dhamma on the Mim is still there. Has this part of the word, which is the asl of the word, has it gone through any changes? Whether it's haraka, whether it's emission, whether it's addition, has anything happened of that sort? No. We've only increased something to it, which is an increment that doesn't affect the origin of the word. So, with the waw and the noon, and that is the hallmark of Jam'u al-Mudhakkar Salim. So now we come to the conclusion that it is sound in the sense that it is safe from any breakages. Let's try and do mu'annath, Jam'u al-Mu'annath, right? By the way, is the ha'u ta'nith here, is it a part of the original structure of the word? It is not. It is only there to indicate what? Gender, okay? It is there only to indicate gender. How do we know? Because the origin is the mim, sin, lam, and mim, and the ta here is for. But does it stay? It does stay, right? So, or not the ta here itself, right? But the sign of. Does anyone see any changes still? The fatha is still there, right? So that is why it is salim. أي سالم من التغيير. That's what it means. Okay? سالم من التكسير ومن التغيير. Any further questions? So we're good to continue to the next sign, right? So what's the next sign? Huh? Al-waw. Okay, the next sign is الواو. ها وأما الواو ها قال الإمام رضي الله عنه ونفعنا بعلومه.
أما الواو فتكون علامة للرفع في موضعين.
في موضعين. Okay, موضعين. What does it mean? Someone help. Two structures. Very good. Two structures. What are they? جمع الذكر السالم. And في الأسماء الخمسة. Okay. So al-waw is going to be a sign in the structure. Do you guys know how many structures we've covered so far? 4 from the previous and 2 here. That's how many? I want you to keep count. How many do we have left? 2. And how many signs for rafa' do we have left? Rafa', 2. Which means it's going to be what? 1, 1. Keep count, okay? That's the only way to remember this stuff and then practice it also, okay? So Jam'u al-Mudhakkar al-Salim, for example, what? We just covered, right? Muslimun, right? Yes, you can go. And what are we saying is the sign of I'rab here? Huh? The waw. What is the hint here? This word, you've seen it in a different form. What is that different form? Huh? Muslimin. Right? What changed there? The waw. Does that make sense? So we want to know that where does this particular structure, where does the change occur? It is right here. Not the noon, not what is before the waw, but it is the waw. It can be waw, it can be ya. But when it is waw, it is what? Al-rafa'. That's what we care about right now. When we move on to the next states of i'rab, what is going to change here in this Muslimun? The wow. So موضع التغيير, the place of change is where? Here, not here. Which is why the Imam says in the beginning, أواخر الكلم. It does not have to be آخر الكلمة. It can be anywhere in between or anywhere in the ends of the word. And everybody understand what we're saying? Okay, so we've covered Muslimun. Al-Asma' al-Khamsa. Do you guys remember Asma' al-Khamsa? Anyone from the sisters remind us of Asma' al-Khamsa?
Sheikh, I remember Abuka.
Okay, Abuka. You guys can share them if you want. Abuka. Uh-huh.
ذو مال.
ذو مال.
أخوك is one, I think.
Okay, أخوك. Good. Muawiyah, that's what you like, right? ذو مال. That's the example you like. Because you want money. ذو مال. Okay, أبوك أخوك ذو مال. What's in between?
Fuka.
Okay, Fuka, very good. I think Fuka is here, right? Fuka. One left. Huh? Nobody likes this one. Allahu Akbar. Hamuka. I understand. Okay, so what do we see here? What is consistent about all these words? And I don't think that the Imam just sat down and was like, you know what, I'm going to just combine these words and just... No, he didn't just bucket them together. There's a common structural letter that is shared by all these. What is that letter? Wow, very good. All of them have a wow. And what are we trying to say here? What is going to change later on in the different states of i'rab? It's this guy, exactly. Now, I want to ask you this because I know that you guys have read the Quran, at least. You guys have seen some of these, right? I don't know if this is going to confuse anybody. Let me remove that. But maybe just put us, I don't know. You guys can do something, yani, just to highlight or whatever. I don't want to confuse you. But if I was you, I would highlight it, I would circle it, just so I can remember that موضع التغيير, the place that is going to be changing in the different states of i'rab, is going to be the waw and not anything else. And that's why this is coming under al-waw, okay? The heading is al-waw, and al-waw is a sign of rafa for these structures, 1 and 2, Jam' al-Mudhakkar and al-Asma' al-Khamsa. All right, anyone have any questions? So now I want you to kind of remember, what other form have you seen abuka in? Abika, very good. Right? Is there anywhere in the Quran? حتى يأذن لي أبي. No, not really. We need the إضافة there. يعني. There is إضافة there, but not إضافة للمتكلم. We want إضافة للمخاطب يعني أو للغائب. For example, يوم يفر المرء من أخيه, right? وأمه وأبيه. Right? وأبيه, do you see that the waw is there? And then the ya, right? عفوا, did I say the waw? The ya. وأبيه, the ya, right? And then, for example, وأبونا شيخ كبير, right? وأبونا, the waw is there. Do you see that? أبونا, and then here أبيه, right? What is the difference? That the state of i'rab here is different from the state of i'rab there. Now, why are we really putting so much effort in the states of i'rab? Because meanings are going to be predicated on the states of i'rab. For example, the fa'il is marfu'. If you don't know what marfu' is, you will not be able to recognize who is the fa'il in a sentence. If someone gets killed, you don't know who killed, you don't know who got killed, because you don't know the fa'il from the maf'ulun bihi, right? So that's why we're putting so much effort in this. It may seem very technical and very dry, but trust me that it is. This is the key to understanding Arabic, right? And then to understanding the Sharia in general, right? Okay. Should we cover another one? Are we good? This is too easy. Should we add another one? Or is this good enough? Huh? أفتوني في أمري يا مشايخ. Should we add one more or should we stop here? Stop here? Add one more? Okay. Then we'll have, because it's only one structure that's going to be under the next one, right? So I'm going to use this side of the board. Akram, what's the next one?
وأما الألف
So al-alif is the next one, okay? Al-alif.
تكون علامة الرفع في تثنية الأسماء الخاصة.
في تثنية الأسماء. Okay, so the Sheikh is using normal speech يعني to explain. But what does he mean by تثنية الأسماء? The dualization of the asma. What does he mean there? It's another way to say muthanna. Very good, Yusuf. It's another way to say al-muthanna, that is it. Because we can say tathniya or we can say, but when we say tathniya, we're saying dualization. And we want to be specific because we can dualize the fi'l too. Or the fa'il in the fi'l. Right? We can say yaf'alani. But are we interested in yaf'alani? We're not. Because yaf'alani is where? Al-af'al al-khamsa. And they have a different sign of i'rab. So we're not going for that. We're going for the asma, which is why the Shaykh is saying tathniyatul asma, the dualization of the asma. Now give me an ism. Abdurrahman, give me an ism. You're talking too much, you and Mu'adh. Mu'adh, can you sit somewhere here? Mu'adh, sit here. Abdurrahman does not want to learn, but I think you want to. Okay, sit over there. Abdurrahman, give me an example. Give me an ism. Allahu Akbar. Abdurrahman is a hafiz of the Quran, by the way, if you guys know. And he does not know one ism. That entire Quran, you can't tell me one ism. Give me one ism from the entire Quran. Anyone want to help him? Mustafa. Muhammad. Okay, very good. Muhammad is an ism. You couldn't tell me Muhammad, you couldn't tell me your messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Muhammad. Huh? Okay, tell me more. Allahu Akbar. Ism mufrad. Abdurrahman, this is because you're smart enough. You just don't want to learn Abdurrahman. Huh? You just don't want to learn Abdurrahman. So Mustafa, Muhammad. Okay, Muhammad is an ism. How can I dualize Muhammad? What do I say? Muhammadani. Very good. All right? So that's what the Shaykh is talking about here. He's saying, what is the sign? So for example, let's use Muhammad. Muhammadani, right? So Muhammadani. What is my sign here? The alif. Now, since you guys again have said you guys have memorized the Quran, let's try to see from the Quran where something that is dualized is in a different state than Muhammadani. For example, what? Huh? رجلان yes. قال رجلان من الذين أنعم الله عليهم قال رجلان من الذين يخافون أنعم الله عليهم الخلود, right? رجلان, true. But I'm saying in a different state of i'rab because this is we've already covered that this is in the state of al-rafa because alif is the sign of al-rafa for this structure, right? For muthanna. But I'm saying يعني so we know موضع التغيير or we know محل التغيير, where the تغيير happens. لغلامين. That's very good. Think lower surahs, shorter surahs. ألم نجعل له عينين, right? Two eyes, right? Is the dualization of the word عين, which means an eye, right? So ألم نجعل له عينين, right? عينين ولسانا وشفتين. What does شفتين mean? Right? Lips, right? The two lips. There are only two lips for each human being, right? So now we know where does the change occur? Hamza, where does the change occur? At the alif here. Because عينين is what? In the raf'a, it's what? Huh? عينان, right? Huh? فيهما عينان huh? تجريان or نضاختان, right? عينان is مرفوع, right? And then it changes to عينين, right? I've added one extra here, right? Well, that's correct. عينين. So do you see that the change occurred here? So what we want to only say here is that when it's like this, it's in the state of i'rab. What state of i'rab? Al-rafa. And what's the sign? Al-alif. That's all we're saying here. So that's why they say this stuff is stuff to memorize, because it's easy to understand. It's not difficult to understand. We just have to remember. Yeah.
What is identifying like Aynani versus Aynani? You can identify that Aynani is marfu'.
Aynan is marfu'.
What's the point of like knowing that it's marfu' versus the other one?
Because meanings are going to be based on it, right? Because for say we say mubtada, mubtada has a meaning. Like mubtada has an effect on the meaning of a sentence. If I say, for example, والمبتدأ اسم والمبتدأ الاسم العاري الاسم المرفوع العاري عن العوامل اللفظية, right? When I say الاسم المرفوع, I need to know every structure that could be mubtada and what is the sign of rafa of that structure. If I don't, then I'm not going to be able to understand that it's mubtada. If I'm not able to understand that it's mubtada, I'm not going to understand the meaning. Does that make sense, Yusuf? So for example, Allah says, أَلَمْ نَجْعَلْ لَهُ عَيْنَيْن. How can I make sense of this sentence? It's by knowing عَيْنَيْن is مفعول به, right? Meaning what? That is what the fi'l of ja'al occurs to. Which means Allah is saying, have we not formed for the human, have we not made for the human 2 eyes? So the entire meaning is actually predicated on understanding the i'rab of the sentence. And I will not be able to understand the i'rab of the sentence if I can't understand the state of i'rab that it's in. Because based on the state of i'rab is going to be the meaning later on when I start to learn the actual qawa'id. Because now we're not actually learning the qawa'id, we're only learning how to recognize the different states. Look at it like this. If I'm not able to recognize the symptoms of a disease, I'm not going to be able to recognize what disease the person has. And therefore, I'm not going to be able to treat it. You see what I'm saying? Likewise, if I see a sentence, if I want to understand the fiqh in a sentence, whether that sentence is from an ayah, or from a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, or a statement of a alim who said something, I need to understand what's going on first before I'm able to actually deduct anything, right? And inshallah, I'll try to see how we can use some examples to just show you the benefit of this ilm. And it's suffice to say that without this ilm, there's nothing, you can never claim ilm without Arabic language. Because you can claim to be a what? A blind follower. That's perfectly fine. But you don't have ilm. Because what is ilm? Ilm is something that you can put to work and after that glean the benefits on your own. That's al-ilm. Does that make sense, ya shabab? I know I'm speaking too philosophically right now, but what I'm trying to say is, if you are not able to say 1 + 1 is equal to 2 on your own, and you're only saying that because your teacher said so, do you have knowledge of that? You don't have knowledge of that, but you're saying the correct thing. How do I know you don't know what you're talking about? If I say 4 + 4, you're not going to know. Because you only memorized 1 + 1. Now, to be able to do the arithmetic on your own is having ilm. Does that make sense? Likewise here, if you can put these qawa'id to use and understand on your own, then you have the ilm. At least as far as i'rab and nahu is concerned, right? Does that make sense, ya shabab? This is the whole point of learning this ilm, is to be able to understand Arabic speech, and there's also proof for your understanding, because you can do i'rab, you can parse the sentence and show why you understood it in such a way. Right? We'll stop here inshallah, and then we'll wrap up the last one for al-rafa, and then we'll move on to the next states of i'rab. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك اشهد ان لا اله الا انت استغفرك واتوب اليك. صلى الله وسلم على نبينا محمد.